Everyone loves a happy ending, right? Well, provided, of course, that those endings are both satisfying and entirely scientifically accurate. No, your standards are too high. That's right, it's time once again to gleefully pick holes in well-loved classics just because we can and we're addicted to dislikes. But this time, please be assured we're not so much having a go at the movies, we're having a go at science for ruining their romantic idea of happy endings. Got it? Please don't hate me. Please don't hate me. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and this is 7 happy movie endings that are totally ruined by science. Number 7, The Lion King. The last 2.5 minutes of The Lion King never fails to bring a lump to the throat as Simba reclaims Pride Rock and welcomes his own cub into the world. Sadly, the reality of what would have happened next would probably be too upsetting for the youngsters. Lion leadership struggles are almost always bloody affairs, and when a new male takes charge, one of the first things he will usually do is kill any cubs under 9 months old and start his own bloodline. So no matter how nice Matthew Broderick's voice is, Simba's first move would have been to kill all of Scar's leftover brood, Hakuna Matata. Number 6, Sleeping Beauty. Sidestepping for a moment the problematic issues of kissing someone in their sleep, let's talk biology. In the fairy tale, the titular princess is put into an enchanted sleep by an evil witch. In real life, we call this a coma, and a coma is not pretty. Aside from the scaly skin and bad breath brought on by dehydration, the princess's body would also be covered in angry sores and ulcers caused by the constant, concentrated pressure at the points where her body touches the bed. She would be incontinent, which would worsen the ulcers and also send the risk of infection sky high. The princess's muscles may have become contracted and immovable, causing her to slowly curl up like a dead spider. She would also probably wake up with pneumonia due to the inability to regulate secretions in the lungs and would probably be vulnerable to lung collapse. Gosh, aren't fairy tales magical? Number 5, The Martian. Sandstorms and also the exposure to the vacuums of space aside, one of the major dangers facing Mark Watney during his time on Mars would have been completely invisible. Down here on Earth, we're fairly well protected by something called the magnetosphere, which deflects most of the dangerous radiation of space. For Watney, not so much. With this exposure, on Mars, he would be massively increasing his risk of developing fatal cancer. This is not even taking into account the exposure endured during the trips to and from Mars through open space, where the dosage is higher still. So that lovely, heartwarming ending in The Martian that shows Mark Watney living a nice, normal life after his ordeal? Yeah, probably not. Number 4, The Princess and the Frog. Due to the laws of the conservation of mass, in order to transform into a prince, the frog would have to draw energy from its surroundings in order to make up the difference in mass. Now, we know from Einstein that mass and energy are pretty much interchangeable in physics. We all know that, right? And since molecules can't be absorbed as easily as energy, converting energy to mass is the better way to do it. And it turns out that stripping the kinetic energy from air is not a good idea, as it would immediately create an absolute zero temperature environment and transform the two most abundant gases in the atmosphere, nitrogen and oxygen, into liquids. So ask yourself the question, is finding your Prince Charming worth immediately drowning in liquid nitrogen? I mean, it is for me because I'm a nitpicker and therefore I'm so goddamn alone. Number 3, WALL-E. Even if we ignore the slightly alarming overtones of what is essentially class cleansing with the super rich jetting off in their starships leaving the poor to rot on Earth, the implications for the human race in WALL-E are pretty disturbing. You see, the original humans who left the Earth in its appalling state are by now presumably all dead after 700 years of interstellar travel. The morbidly obese blobs of humans that come back are their distant descendants who have known nothing but their shipboard environment. The result of this would be that the humans, far from restoring the Earth to a hippie's paradise, would hit the deck at the first tug of Earth's gravity, creating a landscape of scattered, gasping, fleshy mounds like jellyfish washed up on a beach. Number 2, Fight Club. The destructive end of Fight Club is a scene that has stuck with a generation, and in real life, that would unfortunately also be the case. Despite the fact that there was no one in the buildings when they went down, the fallout from that level of unplanned demolition would have been catastrophic. You see, during the 9/11 attacks in 2001, the towers collapse released a colossal toxic dust cloud that thundered throughout the city. By 2010, just 9 years on, over 900 responders to the attacks were dead from related health problems. 2,500 now have cancer, and 15,000 are thought to suffer from chronic diseases caused by the inhaling of the dust. This was all from the collapse of 2 buildings, and the narrator flattens 5. You do the maths. And number 1, Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Celebrate all you like, little Ewoks, you're doomed. Doomed every last bastard one of you. The main threat to the inhabitants of Endor would probably not have been the destruction of the Death Star itself, but the shrapnel which wouldn't have been moving fast enough to stay out of orbit. It is estimated that a Death Star-sized mass of debris falling from the sky would create an impact crater 700 kilometers wide, 4 times the size of the crater formed by the impact that killed the dinosaurs on Earth, and flattening everything on the surface. To add insult to injury, as the material that was thrown into the air by the impact re-enters the atmosphere, it would superheat to the point that all water on the surface vaporized. To which you can only say one thing: wub wub, weed up wub wub, wub wub dibbidi wub. What, you know where I'm going with that. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.